Hello guys, welcome back to section 3 or video number 3 in our introduction or to object-oriented programming with Python series. So we have covered a lot, or so far we have looked at how to create a class, how to create a method, how to create a class variable, instance variable, talk about regular method, the different types of methods. So this in this video, I'm going to cover the last type of method, which is known as the Dunder method, or especially the special methods, or they're also called magic methods in Python. So we'll learn about the Dunder methods and also operator overloading in this tutorial. So what are Dunder methods, or they're also called special methods or magic methods? What are they in Python, and how can you do operator overloading? So these are the two main questions that you're going to be covering. You're going to try to answer in this tutorial. So let's just jump into my VS Code and let's see what's up. So this will be left over from last time about working with this one. So we learn how to call methods, how to create static methods, class methods, and all of that, and regular methods, right? So we have covered one of. I think we're going to look at the special methods, and one of the special methods that you've covered so far is the underscore dunder. Sorry, underscore init underscore method. So this is also called dunder method. So if a person sells you dunder in Python, it basically means that it probably starts with two underscores, right? Underscore, and then something, the name of the method, and then two underscores afterwards. So that's what called dunder methods or special methods or magic methods in Python. So if you're using any of the three names, they basically refer to the same thing in Python. So these standard methods or special methods, magic methods, this allow us to perform operator overloading and also perform some built-in functions within Python, some built-in Python behaviors. Okay, so we have looked at already the init function, which is a special method. In this, we're going to cover two main additional special methods. That is a ton of them. You're going to cover two main special additional methods. These are going to be the dunder str method and also dunder the repr method. So that's basically what we're going to cover in this tutorial. So let me just go ahead and we have created we have created this object right. Let me just delete this right now. We have created three objects right here, right? So I'm going to use print and I'm going to print student one object. And if I print this in, you just get back a memory address of that object. So if I run this code again, this is what we get back: just student object and then at and then the memory address. So that's just basically the memory address of the object. This is not what we really want. It does not give us much information. Another way we can print this, get the same outputs by using print and then say student one object dot underscore str, just like this, and call this method. So if you so you say the name of the instance and then underscore and then dot and then underscore str underscore and then closing and opening and closing parameters. Okay, so if I run the code again, we get back the same outputs basically. So these two ways are the same thing, the ways to achieve the same thing in Python, right? So this is just a syntactic sugar. So this is up here is just syntactics, right? Syntactic sugar, right? And this is what Python does in the background. So this is what Python does in the background. So in the background, if I say print and I'm trying to print an object, Python simply goes and use the str method on that object, calls the str method on that object. And the str method call is what controls what we see up here, okay? So that's basically it. So this is just a syntactic sugar of achieving the same thing, right? So this basically do the same thing. So another time look at the str method, you can ask yourself, okay, this str method is not defined within our class, and that's true. We didn't define any str method in the class. So why are we getting this? And you can look at the namespace of this. You can just say, let's take the namespace, okay, or the namespace, whatever. So I can just go ahead and do a print, and then I can say draw, and then pass in the name of the object that I want to get access to. So if I just print that code, you can see we get back this whole list right here. So what does this list tell us? So this list basically tells us the namespace of this function. So you can see we have the get school method on there. We can get the number of school, right, which is just an attribute, school ranking an attribute, says school ranking an attribute. This is basically the namespace of the student one object. And you can see inside of that namespace, we should have underscore str in there, which is this one right here. So in the background, all Python objects have this to attached to it, have all these additional namespace attached to it, apart from the ones that we define ourselves. So you can see that the ones that we define ourselves are also in here, like the description, the create instance, admission number, they're all in here. But Python also has some additional ones that it adds to it in the background, and that's one of them is the underscore str underscore method. And that's what it gets called whenever we say print the object. This is what gets called in the background like this, right? So good. Now I hope you have a good understanding of where how Python works in the background, right? So How can we define this ourselves? So it looks in the namespace. We can define this ourselves and control what we get returned. So I don't want to go ahead and return the memory address. Yes, I don't want to return just this memory address, right? So I want to return something which I can control myself. So let's go ahead and learn how to define the s underscore underscore str method on ourselves. So you can say def underscore underscore str and then simply say underscore underscore, and then you can, if you press enter, the VS Code will auto complete that for you. So the this one is a regular Python method, and it takes in the self argument, right? We talk about regular methods in Python. So if you can check the different types of methods in Python, you can go back to the last video. We talk about the different types of methods in Python, and one thing we covered in there is the regular method. When we talk about the regular method, taking in the self keyword, which is just the current instance that you're working with. So the underscore underscore str method takes in the object and then simply returns an str. That's a string representation describing what that object is. So this is just used to provide details on that object basically. So I'm just going to go ahead and simply say return, and you're going to go ahead and return an f string. So I'm going to return the first name of that. So I'm going to say solve dot first name, and I'm going to return let's say solve dot let's say surname, just like that. So whenever I print the whenever I try to print out an instance of the student class, it's going to return to us the first name of the student instance, and then the second name, the surname of the student instance. So if I go in here and I run the code again, now I get back John Doe and John Doe, because we're having these two print statements. If I comment this out and if I run the code, we should have John Doe. But if I go ahead and simply call this and I comment out this, we can go ahead and see we have John Doe. And now this can give you a better even understanding, because now we have the underscore underscore str underscore underscore method instead of our function. Now you can see you're just calling it, just saying student1 dot get me this function, which is what we define in here. So basically it's going ahead and calling what we the dunder str method within our function, within our class. So that's basically how Python works in the background. So good. So now we can control what gets returned. Instead of just getting memory address, we're getting back useful information, right? So now you also have something called the dunder repr method. So if I go ahead and comment this and run the code again, you can see we have it right here, which is this right here. So this is just another alternative to dunder str method. Okay, so this one simply gets called whenever the dunder str method like doesn't exist. Okay, so it's just a fallback. So you can say underscore RPER, and you can just press enter, and you can see it also returns to us a string. So the difference between the dunder str and the dunder repr is that the dunder repr is mostly in for programmers, right, to provide information to programmers, and while the str is just providing information to like non-programmers, I can say. So like this one is aimed for people who actually build maybe an application, but this one is for users of the application. So what you can go in here, you can just return, and by convention, what I search from my Google research is that basically this return information that can be used to create a class. So that can be used to create an object. So basically returns information that is very similar to this one. So let's go ahead and return it in here. I'm going to be using an f string. So I'm going to go ahead and specify the name of the class, which is student. So I can go ahead and copy that and paste it in here. I can go ahead and say, okay, I didn't copy that. So let me just type this out. So student. Okay, and I'm going to pass in the first name of the student. So I'm going to use self.first names dot first name, and I'm going to go ahead and and then go ahead and say comma, and then I'm going to go ahead and say self dot surname, so self dot surname, and then finally I can go ahead and say the admission number. So I can self dot admission number, and then I can close that close that off right here. So good. So that just by calling this method, you're going to get a simple description of this that can use to be that is used to create an object. So that's basically it. So once I have this code, I can simply go ahead and I can call it right here. So if I call if I say print an object, it's just going to go and fall back to the str method. So I can also call the dunder method, the repr method, just by changing this to repr. And once I have that, I can go ahead and run the code again. Let me just comment this out for now so that we have this less clear. So I'm just going to delete all this and run the code again. So you can see we have student student object. It just has first name John Doe, then surname as Doe, and then finally the admission number. So that's basically what the repr method does. So if a programmer sees this, he knows that okay, this guy is trying to create an object, right? So in this code right here is the same thing that is actually in here. So this actually in here is valid Python code to create an object, right? We just have to wrap quotes around this right here. So good. That's basically it for the repr method and the special dunder method. So you can actually copy this right here, copy and paste it, and you can change this to be st str. So yeah, that's basically it for those two methods. So yeah, that's it for those two methods. So once we have that, now I understand if you say print and try to print an object, you know what Python does in the background. It calls the underscore underscore str method. Okay, so good. So once we have that done, where we have that done out of the way, now let's look at operator overloading in Python. So for example, let me just show you what I try to mean by operator overloading. So let me just delete this for now, and I'm going to go ahead and simply do print a. Let me just put this in quotes, a plus let me just a plus b, right? And let me just have also a print let's say 1 plus 9. So what's going to be the output of this? A plus B, what's going to be the output, and what's going to be the output of this second print statement? Okay, so let me just comment this out for now, and comment also this out, and let me just go back and run the code, and let's see what we get. So we get back A, B, and 9. So what if it's a string, it's just concatenating the strings together, right? But if it's an their numbers, is simply adding the numbers together, actually adding the numbers. So how is this defined in the background? How can you control this information in the background, right? How is this being defined? How does this work in the background? And the way this works in the background, it looks at the data type of this, and everything in Python basically is an object. Okay, so you cannot believe this or not, but everything in Python basically is an object, basically at the root. Okay, so how does this work in the background? So let me to explain to you this. I'm just going to print, and I'm going to say print. I'm going to so str, and I can simply say dot, and I can simply say underscore underscore add. So if I say add, I can pass in a, and then comma, and then b, just like that, a comma b, right? So if I go ahead and run the code, now you can see a plus b is being returned. So it's returning this to us, right? Whenever I call this, it's running a plus b, just doing string concatenation. And whenever we call this, it's already running to us a string concatenation. So this is what Python does in the background, because Python knows that, okay, this is a string, so I'm going to take this other string and then add it together. So this add method requires two arguments, which both need to be strings, and that's why we get an error when you try to add together a string and a number, and that's how it fails. Now you at least now this gives you a bit understanding of how Python is working in the background. So if you run this, we get an error, because because calling this, try to do a, right? Python knows, okay, this is a string, so Python calls this in the background, and it's expecting you to it says str and then underscore underscore add underscore underscore. It's expecting you to pass in two string arguments, but now one of the arguments is a number, and that's how Python it fails in the background. But if I return it back to a string, it should work. So now you have a clear you're starting to get an understanding of this, right? So if you use the addition operator, Python will first identify the data type, and then finally find which method works with this data type. So this is addition operator, and the addition operator uses the underscore underscore add method, the dunder add method. So in the background, so when you try to use add, it's calling the dunder add method in the background. Okay, good. Now let's go ahead and try to understand this one more time. So let's try to understand how this works in the background. So let me just print out the result. So what Python is going to do is identify which data type is this. That's a string, right? So Python is going to go ahead and simply do integer and say dot. You're using the addition operator, so you say dunder add, and then simply call that method, and you need to pass in two numbers. So we say 1 comma 9. So this is what Python does in the background for this to work. So if I go ahead and run the code again, now we should get back 10 and 10, right? So that's how it works in the background with Python. Just by using this, so if you use minus, then Python is going to go ahead and call the subtraction done the subtraction method. So if I say sub, and Python is going to use the subtraction operator in the background. So that's how Python works in the background, and each operator, each arithmetic operator has a method assigned to it in the background. Okay, good. So once we have that, how can we override them? How can you override this behavior? Now that we understand how it works, how can we override it? So to see how this really works, I'm going to go ahead and try to go ahead, and I'm just going to go down here. I can just comment this out for now, so I can comment this out, and I can go ahead and simply do a print. So as you can say print, let's say we want to add our student object. So student 1 plus student 2, right? So in the background, right, let's say student 2. In the background, what is being called, because we use the addition operator, Python is going to go ahead and try to look for this function, which does not exist. So we get an error in our code. So we get an error. We can't add those two students together, because we need to define a method that handles this addition operator. And how do we do that? We simply define underscore underscore add underscore underscore in our code. So they have a dunder method that deals with this addition operator, and that's the whole point of operator overloading. So we can go in here and just simply say def, and you can say underscore underscore add, and then underscore underscore add. We take in self, and other, right? Because we need two students, and that's going to return to us. Let's say return to us an integer, right? So what I'm going to go ahead and do, since we cannot, we don't have any numbers for this instance. The only number we have is the admission number. I'm just going to add those two admission numbers. This is for practice, right? For you guys can understand. So this is solve dot admission number plus other dot admission underscore number. So that's all we need to do. So I'm simply going to take the first admission number and add it to the second admission number. So now if I ever run the code again, now Python is going to look for underscore underscore addition, which is going to be this operator in here, and it's going to use that operator. So if I go in here and run the code again, so clear the terminal, run the code, we get the two admission number. So that's basically how we have overridden that operator. Another way we can do this is to print student. We can say student object, right? Student object dot simply say underscore underscore add, right? And you can pass in student one, this can be student one, and okay, student two and student one. So that's basically it. So if I run the code again, we should get back the same output. Yeah, so that's how we can do operator overloading in Python and define each operator and its arithmetic, like which method handles is a specific arithmetic operator. So that's basically how we can do operator overloading in Python. Again, there are a lot of these operator methods. You can go ahead and read more about it in the official documentation of Python. There's just a lot. So you can also do print. You can say int, right? So int underscore int dot underscore underscore power. It's called power. Yeah, not power. Right. You can pass in 2 raised to power 3. That should be 8. So if you run the code again, now you should get back 8 right here. Good. So that's basically how operator overloading works in Python. So sorry for that. This is how operator overloading works in Python. And yeah, that's what I wanted us to cover in this tutorial. And I hope now you are getting an understanding of how Python works in the background and why everything in Python basically is an object. So I hope that makes sense and clarifies a lot of things for you guys. So that's end for this video. So let's see what we're going to be looking at in the next video. In the next video, we're going to look at the four main pillars of object-oriented programming. But for now, this is basically how how to work with special, Dunder, or magic methods, and how to perform operator overloading in Python. So guys, thanks for watching. Again, if you are new to the channel and you want to support me, the easiest you can do this is simply by liking this video. Drop a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what your view is on the video. Okay, so another way you can support me, like if you want to support me, you can buy me coffee. The link is going to be in the description of the video. So thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Keep safe.